What's up, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about vocal and instrument alignment for when you've recorded multiple parts that you want to sync up together. It's really common in modern music, hip-hop, pop, R&B, electronic music to have this really, really tight sound. And you might have in a vocal stack a main lead part, two hard-panned harmonies, doubles, an octave part, a whisper track, all of this stuff. And human beings, even if they're really, really good musicians and performers, are never going to get the timing exactly right between takes. So as you begin to mix these parts together, you start to notice these little timing differences. That didn't used to be a big deal in the past, but now with more modern production, it's really common to have these extremely tight. So I'm going to show you two techniques that I've used to be able to get that really tight and pro vocal or instrument double sound. The first technique is using time stretching, which in Ableton Live is just called warping. It's the slow, painfully slow, actually, way of doing things, but it's free and it works. The next method I'm going to show you is using a plugin by Synchro Arts called Vocalign Pro. And Vocalign Pro is a paid plugin, but time is money, and it can save you an incredible amount of time by doing this alignment for you automatically. To be able to show exactly what these techniques can do, I'm going to use a set of 3 different demo songs. First up, I've got one of my own originals called You Make Me Feel, and it's got a female vocal stack, a large, thick arrangement with a vocalist named Cora Balaj.
I can't deny that you set my soul on fire. You make me feel. You make me feel.
Next up, we've got a tune with rap vocals in it by Ryan McKenna. The song is by my buddy Scarlett, who is one of our trainers here at Warp Academy. He goes by Big Jer.
There was no stopping it. The sky rained down as the comet hit. He just watched as the earth turned red, then he woke up dead in the post-apocalypse. No longer a man, but a consciousness, all alone in the world so ominous. Unaware of a lot ahead, who's alive and dead, weighed heavy and confident.
And finally, we're going to use a cover that I did of Bill Withers' Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone. And I play tenor saxophone as the vocal lead, and then I also play saxophone doubles as harmonies. So we're going to show all of these different scenarios so you guys can get a really good feel for how this stuff works, how you can implement it in your own music to get that super pro sound. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so here we are inside the project for the You Make Me Feel tune. And whenever I'm recording vocals or any other type of instrument, I always create a second project that's the recording project. And it's a stripped down, super minimal version that just has a bounce of the instrumental track in there, no plugins, and it's just meant for recording. And the reason for this is because the production project, the main project, is super heavy with plugins and lots of tracks, and it requires a higher audio buffer size to be able to run effectively on my machine. Also, there's many latency-inducing plugins in that project, so it's totally not possible to record effectively into that project. So what I do is I created a light version or a recording version of the project. I crank the audio buffer size down super low, and I track the vocalist into this session, and that allows me to keep the latency very low for the vocalist. So what we have here are the main vocal and 2 harmonies. There's much more to the stack in this track, but just for the purposes of demonstrating, I'm going to use these copies right here. All that's been done to them is they've been comped, they haven't been tuned, they haven't been processed, so these are totally raw, dry vocals.
It's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside. I don't want anyone around, conceal what's in my mind.
Okay, great. And now we have 2 hard-panned harmonies. So she sang harmony, I tracked her twice, so they're different takes, and you can see there are timing differences between them, and there's amplitude differences and timbre differences, which is what we want. These are hard-panned left and right, which is going to give us a really wide sound. So we'll add these in.
It's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside.
Great. And this is what we want to use the timing alignment technique on, is to be able to tighten up these doubles that are the harmonies that are hard panned and sync them up with the lead vocal. So the first technique I'm going to show you is how to do this manually using warping in Live. So we're going to go up into our first harmony track, and we're going to solo it, and we're going to solo the lead vocal. And keep in mind, it's hard panned, so we're really going to hear it out on the left, which is totally fine, because I really want to notice any timing differences between them. And then it's usually best if you do this visually. So I will try and use warp markers and align things to the main guide track. And I can see the little timing differences, so I just try and have them both framed in arrangement view here so I can begin to see how they're lining up. It can also be useful to match the gain a little bit so you can see, there we go, each one nice and clearly. Then when I'm doing warping here, I will typically use Complex Pro. You could be using tones, because this is a monophonic vocal and tones are for that, but I find I have been getting a little better results with Complex Pro. Complex Pro especially gives you better results when you're pitching things, especially when you're pitching things down. So just a couple notes there about warp modes. So I can see they are coming in, if I zoom in, they're coming in a little bit late on the harmonies. So what I would do is zoom in, and you can see a pseudo warp marker, double click to lock that in. I'm going to go off the grid here by pressing Command 4 on the Mac. And I'm just going to line things up. And you can see it visually scrolling on the display, so you can just get it as tight as you possibly can. And then I click and lock in another warp marker, usually at the beginning of each syllable or word, if I see the alignment is out. Now these guys look pretty good, but if we scroll along, we can see this here is out. So I'm going to begin to manually align these. And I'm not going to bore you with doing this whole process, but basically I can tell you it's painstaking, it's time consuming, and in order to get the vocals done on this particular song, which I did manually, it took me nearly 3 weekends of studio time. In those 3 weekends, I could have gotten an entire another song written. I can't even tell you how much that time is worth to me. So going through and doing this type of manual alignment is free, but when you consider your time in the studio, it costs you money. You can't get more time. So I think that that's very costly to do this manually. But if you guys want to do it that way and you're on a super low budget and you need to be able to sync things up using warp markers, yes, you can do it like this, the slow and the hard way. And it will work, especially if you put enough time and enough detail into this. You can get them so they're sounding relatively tight with enough work.
Oh, it's easier to shut down.
So let's take a look at how to do this automatically with Vocalign. I'll just mention right up front that Vocalign does require a physical USB dongle to run, so you'll need one of those before you can launch Vocalign. So I have mine plugged in and we're all ready to go. If you like what Vocalign can do and you want to check out more info or add it to your set of tools, I've dropped a link with the video that'll take you right there to Vocalign in the Warp Academy plugin store. Now Vocalign, if we take it, we drop it on the track that we want to sync to the main vocal. And in Vocalign terminology, we have what's called a guide track and we have a dub track. So I'm going to take the main vocal and I'm going to rename it guide. So that is going to be the one that we're syncing to. So the verse harmony here is what's known as our dub track. Let's talk about how to route audio to Vocalign. In Ableton Live 10.1, we have a really sweet new routing system that allows any third-party plugin with a sidechain input to have the routing done right on the plugin right down here. So I'm going to go and I'm going to select audio input from the guide, which is going to route the audio from the lead main vocal part into Vocalign. Then what we have to do is capture audio in real time using this button. And anybody who's familiar with Melodyne will recognize this. It's just a real-time audio capture, very similar. So let's go and we're going to work just in this loop right here. And I'm going to click Capture Audio and play the audio in.
Oh, it's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside. I don't want anyone around. Conceal what's in my mind.
Okay, great. Next, what we need to do is align the beginning of each of the audio pieces, the guide and the dub, using these little locators right here that are called sync points. So I'm going to align that to just the very beginning here and align this to the very beginning. These have to be within a fairly short amount of time to be able to capture correctly. And then what I'm going to do is click Analyze. I'm going to click Align. Then what we do, it's not aligned yet. We have to click Edit. So anytime this little speaker icon is red, it means it's not aligned. So if you go and you have them aligned and then you make an edit, it'll go red again, meaning you're not hearing what it's actually doing yet. So now we click Edit. We can see the speaker icon goes green, and now we can actually play the vocals synced up. So let's check this out.
Oh, it's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside.
Let's listen to that with Vocalign bypassed.
Oh, it's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside.
Okay, great. Let's do that one more time on the other harmony. So I'm going to add this to the mix by soloing it. We're going to add Vocalign to this harmony. And one more time, we're going to route audio in from the guide track. We have to capture again.
Oh, it's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside. I don't want anyone around. Conceal what's in my mind.
Okay, great. Let's get our sync points lined up so that we are very close to the very beginning of the audio. And I should also note that there are sync points on the rear as well. And so if you do capture quite a bit of silence, you should snug those guys up as well to be able to get those as tight as possible too. But in this case, I stopped the audio right bang on the money, so we're okay. So now with the second harmony, we're going to click Analyze, Align, and Edit. And now we can see the speaker goes green, and everything should be all really, really tightly aligned now. So let's listen to those all together.
Oh, it's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside. I don't want anyone around. Conceal what's in my mind.
So we can hear it's almost nailed it, but it is struggling with one particular part right here.
Try and hide.
Something about that and try and hide it's struggling with. So I'm going to take this second copy and I'm going to show you how you can correct for that. So I'm going to go from normal flexibility into maximum expansion. And this is going to give it more leeway in the time domain, and I think this will clear it up. So now that we've made this edit, we need to click Edit again for this to go green to be able to hear the actual changes. So let's check this out.
It's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside.
So that's totally fixed the error, and we're all synced up now. Now we can listen to those with the main.
Oh, it's easier to shut down and try and hide how I feel inside.
Awesome. So that was basically instantaneous. We had to do one little edit, and we're fully synced. Now let's talk about how to commit those, because we have Vocalign that's running on here, but if we take Vocalign off, we are going to lose our changes. So what I would do here is I would actually freeze and flatten this track. And so I would take this, and this is in Ableton Live basically just creating a bounce in place. If you're in another DAW, there should be that feature. It's a very common feature. So in this case, I'm just going to freeze the track. That's going to create a temporary and non-destructive audio render. And then what I like to do is create a duplicate of it and then render the duplicate by flattening it. That's going to actually print the audio. And keep in mind, we have only done this one section, so it hasn't done the whole track yet. But now I have a original version of it that I can go back to, and I can just deactivate that. And now I have the bounced version of it right here. So now let's check out our second example to show you how this will work on rap vocals. So we've got Ryan McKenna doing rap vocals on the Scarlet track called Rebirth. Let's just listen to the tune.
There was no stopping it. The sky rained down as the comet hit. He just watched as the earth turned red, then he woke up dead in the post-apocalypse. No.
Okay, great. So we've got a main lead vocal that is constant.
There was no stopping it. The sky rained down as the comet hit. He just watched as the earth turned red, then he...
Okay, and we've got doubles that are only popping in here and there on particular words. So these are ad-lib doubles.
Stopping it. Comet hit. Watched earth. Woke up dead. Post-apocalypse.
Now, this presents a bit of an issue for Vocalign because Vocalign cannot align audio where there's gaps. So there's no gap in the lead, it's constant, but there is a gap in the doubles. So Vocalign won't be able to handle that. It would be great if the algorithm is tweaked in the future that will allow that, but at this point in time, what I can use it for, it's still useful, and I can use it to sync one of the ad-libs doubles to the other. So they're super tight, and then I could use manual alignment to get both ad-libs once they're bounced to sync with the lead vocal. I should actually mention that you can use Vocalign to be able to sync things where there's gaps, but you have to loop it basically and just do one section at a time and then freeze each section as you go along. And that workflow to me is just as time consuming as doing a manual alignment. So I am just going to use Vocalign here to sync one of these doubles to the other. I'll set up a small loop. I'm going to consider this one the guide track. And then I'm going to consider this one the dub track. So we're going to put Vocalign on the second. We have to remember you have to route audio from the guide into the sidechain input of Vocalign. So there we are. And then we have to capture the audio.
Stopping it. Comet hit. Watched earth. Woke up dead. Post-apocalypse.
Okay, great. There we go. We had a bit of silence at the beginning, so we're going to grab our sync points in. They look good at the end. And we are going to go click Analyze. We're going to click Align. And then we're going to click Edit. Speaker icon goes green, and we should be able to hear the alignment now.
Stopping it. Comet hit. Watched earth. Woke up dead. Post-apocalypse.
Now we're going to put Vocalign to the test with an acoustic instrument, in this case, my tenor saxophone. So we've got this project spooled up, and the saxophone hasn't been processed at all. They're the raw recordings. I think maybe they've just been melodined, no processing on them. And I've got the main saxophone lead part, which is here. And then similar to the other projects, I have hard panned doubles that are playing harmonies. So let's go ahead by putting Vocalign onto the first of the harmonies, and we're going to sidechain the input from the guide, and we'll go ahead and capture and play in the audio. Okay, great. Now we'll turn everything on. We can see we've got the guide and the dub. Let's snug up the sync points. Let's take a look at the back end of things. We're good there. And analyze, align, edit. And then we're going to do the exact same process with the other double. So we'll put Vocalign Pro on. We will bring in the sidechain audio from the guide. We'll capture audio. Great. Let's adjust our sync points. Analyze, align, edit. Now let's listen to the whole stack all together. Epic. That worked super well. I'm massively impressed with how well it worked on my saxophone. And for me, as an instrumentalist that's recording, and I work a lot with vocalists, this is just an absolute huge time saver. Huge time saver. A couple little drawbacks. A, the dongle. I'm not a fan of that, but I'll take it. And B, the inability to address audio that has gaps in it relative to the guide. But I have a feeling that they'll probably come up with an update for that. That's a feature I'm sure that tons of other people are looking for. And in general, this could save me basically 3 weekends of work in the studio from having to do this manual alignment. So I'm a huge fan. If you're interested in Vocalign Pro, you can check it out in the Warp Academy plugin store. I've dropped a link with this video that'll take you right there. And if you want to go deeper into music production, then I'd encourage you to come back to Warp Academy and check out our new free trial membership. That'll give you complimentary access to a whole bunch of courses on everything you need to know to be able to create exceptional music and live your passion. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'll catch you real soon. Cheers.